Bruce, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. This is a little taste of our new website for you that I'm very, very grateful that Kemp has volunteered, along with some others who have been helping him or will be helping him along the way to come up with our new website. The executive committee put out some feelers since the last AGM, and this is the result of our workings, and we were very, very fortunate to find Kemp, who was willing to take on this task. And I hope you enjoy his presentation. So thank you.
All right, I guess that's my cue. So hello, everyone. I am Kemp. I'm going to share my slides here and get rolling. All right, I am a ringer in Florida. I learned in DC in 2001 through 2004. I took a decade or so off, but came back in the late 20-teens. But my involvement in this project started at the 2019 AGM. And I want to begin by going through a bit of the history of the website. But before I do that, I need to give you a little more information along the lines of the theme of managing expectations. And this information is about my favorite protagonist in any story, and that is me. So here is who I am. I am a ringer, I'm a lawyer, I'm a musician, I probably have ADHD, and I'm a volunteer. So what that means is I am not a web developer. I do not do this. I've built some websites before purely for fun, but never as a career. I'm not a project manager. I'm not good at herding cats, and I am not paid. So part of the theme of this project is there's some decisions that have to be made to make sure that we build something with realistic expectations, and you're going to get what you're going to get in some regard. The good news, however, is that I think that that what we can get with purely volunteer effort is really quite good, as long as what we don't expect is the result of a $40,000 web development project. So a bit about the history of the NAG website. It's had a website, as far as I can tell, based on scouring old issues of the Clapper, since 1995, and Mike Simpson created the original version. I think he was the Guild public relations officer at the time. In 1998, Sam Wilmot took over, and at that point in time, this is what the site looked like. I couldn't get any screenshots of it. Maybe somebody has some from before this time, but this screams late 90s, very functional, looks a lot like many, many websites of the era. The only thing that is missing, thankfully, is the animated under construction GIF with the flashing construction lights. So it did not have that, which is great, and it worked and served the Guild well. In approximately 2001, I didn't talk to anybody about this information. I just sort of figured it out based on what I could find. So some of this may be wrong. You can tell me later if so. Brian Zook took over, and I believe he redesigned it and created this. And this was what the website looked like when I first joined the Guild and became familiar with it. Again, very functional, very informative. A lot of the same copy from the last website appeared on this one, and this website served the Guild very well too. And then fast forward to 2010, which is when John Danaher, another volunteer ringer, created this. And we need to go take a look at it. So this is the website as it exists today. And the first thing I want to do is just make sure everybody understands how monumentally amazing of a job that John did to create this. The back end of this website, what you don't see, the computer programming behind the scenes that put this all together, is all custom code written by him. So everything you see here, all the articles, all the performances, all the event reports, all the store items, all the video albums, the archives of Clapper and other Guild documents. Everything you see is in database tables that he put together and wrote the code to put all this together to generate the website. I can't imagine how much time this took. So this site has really done a great job and served us very well for the past 10 years. But there are some issues. The first one that you notice is right here in the middle, the map is broken. The map of the towers has been broken for several years. And the reason the map broke is because it was based on an API, which is a behind the scenes software interface with Google. And that API, the way that Google Maps interacts with websites was changed by Google. And the site was not updated to accommodate that change. John is no longer ringing, not really involved anymore, and no one else has the time, experience, interest, ability to maintain his code and keep this working, so that has remained broken. The overall look and feel of the website for its time was great. For now, it's clearly looking dated, and that's something that we need to address. The overall design here is that the modern design aesthetic, and we'll be talking more about this later, is called responsive design. And responsive design means that the website looks good at whatever width of a device that you have. So if you set your browser window very wide, the website should look good. As you narrow your browser window, the website should adapt and respond to that and look different, but still good no matter what size you make it. This website adapts and responds starting about here, but if you get any smaller than this, it breaks and things fall off the side of the screen so you can't see them anymore. And then it adapts all the way up to about here, but once you get here, the website stops filling all available space except for the banner at the top. That isn't necessarily bad on the wide side. Sometimes you might design it to not go all the way full width. But sort of the modern design aesthetic is to make use of, even if you just use it as white space, all the space that you have, and so that you could cleanly narrow your browser all the way down to the width of a phone, and the website would respond to each of those changes without breaking and still looking good. So this website is semi-responsive, sort of from this width here up to about this width here, but outside that width and below that width, it isn't. It has a separate mobile site. So if you look at it on your phone, you'll see that you have a link to go to the mobile version that lays it out differently, but those are sort of two completely discrete things instead of one continuous site that adjusts based on the width of your browser window. The website is very busy. Again, that was a thing that we did a lot back in the early 2000s, but it's not a thing that we do so much anymore. The modern design aesthetic has more white space, more thought given to what are the 3 or 4 things we really want to drive people to do when they come to the site, what action are we looking for, and the sites tend to be designed around driving people to those actions. And instead, this site sort of just presents everything, bloom, right there on the screen, right in front of you, and you have to sort it all out at once, which is a choice, but not the choice that modern web design really makes. There is little to no video content on our website, which is something else as part of the modern aesthetic. Many of the photos are outdated and showing their age. And there's a lot of features on this site that are underutilized. We have, I think it's 5 different ways that people can present serial current content on the current site. We have articles here. We have announcements here. We have event reports here. We have a calendar of events here. We have photo and video albums here. And member discussions here. So there's lots of different ways that people can create content, but we're not doing it. Some of these, you know, the last photo and video albums from 2014. So we really don't need that many categories of serial current information. We can probably scale those down. And then there's problems on the back end. There have been issues that have arisen with inability to update things, and things with this code that have broken, which tends to happen as servers update and as other services you use update. That John is just not around anymore to fix, and because all of the code was custom made by him, no one else knows it. And in order to fix the site, someone else would have to get really up to speed on this 10-year-old custom code, which isn't ideal. So the why of why we are updating this should now be pretty obvious. We need better aesthetics. We would like a site that has a modern, responsive design that looks good on any width device. We want to simplify the maintenance. My goal is that if I am hit by a bus the day after we launch this website, without having had an opportunity to teach anyone else how to do anything on it, that it would not take very much time for someone to dive in and utilize the tools that we've put together to maintain the site. We want it to be on a platform that is supported so that if something goes wrong, it is someone else's problem to fix, not ours. We want to consolidate our content streams, our articles, our member discussions, our event reports, our photo albums into one content stream so that updates appear to be less stale because as they trickle in, the same feed is updated each time. And then finally, this isn't a deal breaker, but it is something that we can easily do with modern tools available to us, and that is to add e-commerce to the website. This will enable us, without having to go through kind of the awkward PayPal thing, to accept dues payments online quickly and easily, which should help us a lot with member retention and help us get new members to pay their dues on time and get renewing members to easily renew their memberships. So I'm going to take a moment here and just see if anyone has any questions before we continue on.
If you'd like to ask any questions, you may do so by messaging me. In the meantime, Alan Nunley had a question. Will online voting be used in a new website?
The short answer is no. It may be theoretically possible to implement online voting, but it would require the use of either a custom-built tool or something very specialized. And so at this point, I'm not putting in the time and effort to make that work. The system that we have for voting, things we have to vote on are relatively rare as a group that we can't handle at the AGM, and so that is not something that's planned right now. Anything else?
Yes, Quilla would like to talk. Quilla?
So quick thing, online voting will be will be addressed at the AGM, however. So good question. There will be a mention of it and more information at the AGM. That's all.
Lovely. Any other comments or questions? You may tell me in 5 seconds.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, you all lost a bet.
All right, here we go. So getting started. At the AGM, you may have seen on the previous slide in 2019, there was some discussion about hiring someone to design our website. And the number that was thrown out was somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 to do that. We don't have a lot of money, and that's a tremendous amount of money for us. And I think, and I wasn't involved in these discussions, so I don't know for sure, but I think the executive committee quickly realized that what that $7,000 to $10,000 would buy us would be disappointing in terms of what the new site would actually do. And our wants and needs were a little higher than that, but that price point was unworkable. So they needed to find a volunteer. They found me, and so what I'd like for you all to do, if there's anything I do that you don't like, blame Rick Dupuis, because he is the one who asked me to help. But I decided when I was appointed as that volunteer to take the lead on this, that we would look for a solution that involved some type of web host, but we would design the site to be hosted on that host. So this is going to be the most boring part of this, I promise, I hope. But here's what we were looking for in terms of hosting the site. One thing we needed to make sure is that it's easy to update. So even if you wanted to change something about the design, that should be easy to do for a layperson. We wanted a host that would give us some modern responsive templates, so we wouldn't have to necessarily create that sort of thing from scratch. There has always been sort of a discussion philosophically about how much of or whether we wanted any of our content locked behind a members only type portal where you have to log in and that only members have access to. And there's one thing I think that pretty universally everyone agreed needed to be somehow behind a wall, and that is the directory that shows all of our members' addresses and phone numbers and email addresses and that sort of thing. And subject to more debate, but if we've got a members only wall, I can put this behind it too without too much trouble. And that is the Guild archives. That includes all of our old Clapper issues, all of our current Clapper issues, as well as Guild documents and that sort of thing. So we needed a host that would enable us to have that members only area without too much trouble, without having to design it from scratch. We needed a host that would allow us to have a CMS database. And CMS stands for Content Management System. It is how most modern websites are built. The idea is that the content of your website does not live on a page that is pretty to look at. Instead, the content lives in a database. So for example, on our current site, each tower is stored as a row in a database that stores the details of that tower. And then that tower's page on the site, where it lists all those details and shows a picture and talks about the practice time, doesn't exist. Instead, when you ask, say, for the Boston Advent page from the site takes a template, it plugs the data from the database into that template in real time, and then builds right there an HTML page that it then serves to your browser that shows that information. And most of these web hosts have that sort of system built into them, but we needed one that would enable us to have our own database tables that we pull from. So that was kind of a deal breaker for us, so that we could store primarily our tower directory as well as our member directory in a database format. We did need some ability to get fancy. So, whereas we're not designing the site from the ground up, there are some pieces of it that may require some custom code. The two that I can think of off the top of my head are the interactive map of the towers. We're going to have some JavaScript that interacts with Google to create that map. And we also needed the ability to serve up our tower database in a way that makes sense. And so we needed to do some of our own programming, even though the whole site will not be built with our own programming from the ground up. We wanted to be able to do online dues pay. They all do that. And we wanted it to be cheap as dirt. So this was the challenge that I initially sort of set myself and the committee to finding the right place for this site to live and meet all of these requirements. So we looked at a bunch of options. Kind of the most granular in terms of being more like something you'd code yourself would be to use WordPress. WordPress, and we'll get out of the boring stuff real soon, I promise. WordPress is what we call a framework. It's kind of the back end of the site that governs how article posts are made and user logins and that sort of thing. But if you use WordPress, you still have to do a lot of the design yourself or purchase a template that you then modify yourself in order to get the design that you want. It is not really a purely drag and drop tool that a layperson could use to edit the look of the site if I get hit by a bus. So WordPress was out. There's also some solutions that are designed from the ground up to be websites for clubs and membership organizations. The two best known and most viable would have been Club Express and Wild Apricot. You can go look these up if you want. And these would have handled a lot of our backend needs really well. Member directories, event registrations, dues payments, member discussions, emails to members. A lot of features we don't even use, didn't even know we needed, would be available with one of these tools. There's two problems with these tools. They're expensive as compared to some of the other solutions. And they also do not have the really nice responsive templates and the ability to have a really good custom design that we create. That really looks snappy. Some of their templates are dated. It's just not designed to be a really super good website. They're designed to be super good backend tools. So those weren't going to work. So then we're kind of stuck in the world of what I'll call web builders. The one you've probably heard of is Squarespace. And these are designed so that total morons can sit down and click a few buttons and drag and drop a few pictures and create a website. And they are very user-friendly and easy to use to create a website. And they charge you a monthly fee, and they handle everything. They do all the hosting, the domain name registration, to make it as easy as possible for you. So in looking at these, one emerged as the winner for one reason and one reason only, and that is Wix. And the reason Wix emerged as the winner was because Wix is the only one of these tools that enables us to have member logins, to have that member wall, without having to use a third-party plugin that costs additional money. So by choosing Wix, we are able to have the club website. I'm able to build it for you for free, and then they handle everything, including all the hosting for, I think it's $27 a month is what the total cost comes out to be for the guild over time, which is a great savings over $7,000 to $10,000 for a website that doesn't do everything that we want, plus all the hosting fees, which is what we were looking at before. In particular, there's a tool called Editor X that Wix has come out with that is specifically geared towards being a modern, responsive template generation tool. So this whole site, if you want to go check it out for yourself to use for another project, is built using Editor X, which is a Wix-based tool. And later, if there's time at the end, I'll show you how the edit interface works and how any one of you, if you get saddled with the unlucky job of being the webmaster at some point in the future, could edit this site. So I'll take another pause for questions at this point, and hopefully there will be more interesting stuff from here on out.
Our first question by Allison was, can other guild members who are familiar with web development participate in the design and build process?
Sure, email me. And we'll talk about that and figure out how much you want to be involved and how much you can help. I'll talk more about that later, but I would love some help specifically with regards to graphic design. The actual look of it is what I consider myself to be weakest at, and I would love some help and some additional participation. Also need some beta testers once we get to that point. So I would appreciate it if you have those skills and want to pitch in, email me, and we'll definitely talk.
Would it be possible that you can put your email address in the public chat?
It'll be at the end, and I'll do it in the public chat as well.
Great. Another question is that, is a WordPress template a one-time purchase? If so, would it be worthwhile to invest once in that for more fine-grained control and customization?
No. Well, it is yes, a WordPress template is a one-time purchase. The issue is that what you get is just the template. And if you say don't like that this element is, in the bottom left-hand corner and you want that element to be in the top right-hand corner and that isn't in the template, now you need somebody who understands PHP and or CSS to go in there and edit that template to do what you want it to do. So while it would enable fine-grained control, you would need somebody with some programming chops to do that. But using a web builder like Wix or Squarespace or something like that, somebody can just sit down, log in, and drag that thing over to where they want it instead of where it was.
If anyone else has any other questions or comments, I'll give you 10 seconds this time. And you can just simply write question or comment, and I'll unmute you so you may say it. Fine then.
Okay, very good. All right, so we have a framework. We know what the platform's going to be that we're going to build it on. How are we going to organize this stuff? So the current website has too much and it's too complicated, at least for the level of volunteer effort that we have available to us to build it and organize it in an appropriate way. So we've got to figure out a way to simplify and streamline what we do so that we can present it in a cogent way. So we started, and when I say we, I should compliment the members of the website subcommittee, that is Quilla Roth, Rick Dupuy, and Mary Platt, who have been truly outstanding troopers with me to let me bounce things off of and to tell me when I've done something stupid or ugly and make me fix it. And I really have valued their input, and we've had a lot of discussions. But we kind of thought about this in terms of who is coming and what do they want when they get there. So there are three categories of visitors that we thought about. One of them is ringers from foreign countries. This is Simon Linford, the chairman of the Central Council now, and his cat. Simon is a ringer who is obviously foreign. I presume that his cat is foreign and a non-ringer, but I don't have any personal knowledge of that. But what is a foreign ringer going to be doing when they come to our website? Well, probably the most common thing they're going to want to do is find out information about our towers if they're planning to visit. So the tower directory is a very, very important component of what they're looking for. And they might be looking for information about non-resident life membership. I would imagine if we have a visiting ringer that rings a peal with us, we say, hey, so we can submit this under the guild. You want to join, pay your $5. It'd be nice to be able to send them somewhere where they can quickly and easily do that. And the website is a perfect place to do that. They might also be looking for general information, other stuff, don't know. They might be browsing through, but this is probably the most common type of stuff that they'll be looking for. Domestic ringers. There's a lot I love about this picture. I'll let you guess as to who some of these people are. The hairstyles are great. The fashion is great. I had it. Here it is. But domestic ringers are probably going to be looking for the most comprehensive stuff and the more granular stuff. Domestic ringers, I know when I go to our website, most often it's been to look up information about one of our towers and figure out who to get in touch with about that. I'm looking for the member directory. I go there all the time. What is this person's email address? I need to reach out to them. What's their phone number? That's a very common area. The guild documents and the Clapper. I'll go to our website to find the latest edition of the Clapper. And also go for the guild calendar and news to see what's going on. Lately, as we have not posted as much on there that you might call news, and I'm getting that from other places, email and Facebook and that sort of thing. I don't use it as often for that. And I think that's probably a general trend common to all websites, that people are relying on social media and other tools to get current information. But I think in terms of an events calendar, I've definitely gone to our website looking for that. And so this is having a place for our membership and other ringers who aren't necessarily members yet to go and find this kind of granular information is very, very important. And then finally, non-ringers. And when I think about non-ringers, I wanted to think big. Who could we recruit? It's nerdy, it's fun to be around, that would help us with diversity, which is a topic that we talked about last night. The kind of person that I really want to meet, who lives near a tower, who I know that if we could just get this individual with a bell rope in their hand, they would love it. And that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. So a non-ringer like Neil deGrasse Tyson, what would they be looking for if they're coming to our website? Well, they want to know what the heck this is. Maybe they heard about it, heard the ringing one time and asked, hey, what's that? Or they found out, hey, you mean people ring those bells? What are they doing? So our website needs to be attractive to and suck people in who are non-ringers to give them more information about what we do. And the action item I want those people to engage in when they visit our site is to, one, get excited, and two, actually follow through on contacting someone at their local tower to get started and learning how to ring or to come see it. So these are the three categories of people we're looking at. In terms of organizing the information to present it to those people, we went through kind of an iterative process. These diagrams are not the iterative process. I created these after the fact to demonstrate the spaghetti logic in our heads as we went through this. But this is a list essentially of everything that's on our current site now. Each of these things is a page. I even left out one for event reports. I would put it under a photo of the day. Is probably where that would live in terms of where that goes. But this is what our site looks like now. These are all the places you can get to from the home page, essentially. And we want to simplify and consolidate and just be better at highlighting the really specific goals we have for each of our users. So the first 5 of those can really all live on the front page. Our front page can tell the story of ringing, tell the story of who we are, present that in a cogent way, and explain and drive people to take that next step of visiting a tower and finding out more. So all of those 5 pages are going to live on the home page, which is also the About page. The tower directory is a separate standalone thing. All 3 categories of people visiting our website are likely going to be there for the tower directory. So it's extremely important that the tower directory is front and center, easy to get to, well designed, and prominently featured. So it's going to be all by itself. The announcements, articles, photo galleries, and the event reports section that I left out here are all going to be consolidated into one category that's just news. So anything current, up to date that's being posted on the site is going to be in one stream. And it essentially is articles. The calendar can still be an events list. And one of the things we will get that might be useful to us is the ability to RSVP and register for events right there on the website. So if you're going to an area meeting, instead of having to email the person who's coordinating that or go to some separate website or fill out a Google form, all of that can be hosted on our website, and we can make this available to all of our member towers to use to advertise and handle registrations for events that they are running. And then finally, all this membery stuff, the store, the member directory, the Clapper issues, the guild documents, can be baked into what I'm calling the members landing page. And this page is going to be denser in terms of information. It's going to look more like the existing site in terms of having a lot of text that's smaller, that gets members to the more detailed granular information that they need. And it's okay if that page is a little more detailed and granular, because members already understand what change ringing is. They're not confused. There's nothing we need to explain to them right off the bat or make sure that they see first. They kind of know what they want and they kind of know where to find it, and it'll be easier for them to sort it out if it's all in one place. The members portal will have two sections. I'm calling it the members landing page, but it's not really members. That's just the best word we can think of for it. It's really for all ringers would find this useful, at least all domestic ringers, whether they are members yet or not. And it will have a section of it that is cordoned off behind a wall that only actual members of the guild can get to, and another section that anyone from the public could get to. And those look like this. So the public section will have an opportunity to pay dues and join. It's important to me that if you don't want to have an account on the site, but you are a guild member and just want to pay your dues, that you'd be able to do that without having to have a login. It's to make it quick and easy. And so that is why the pay dues portion of it is on the public side. And then the members only side will have the directory, the Clapper archive, and the guild archives. We could move the guild documents out to the public version of the site and have that somewhere else. I leave that decision as a philosophical discussion for people at a higher pay grade than me to make. But for now, I'm sticking to the paradigm that we already have, which has those documents behind a wall. So all those 17 or 18 pages of various content that's perhaps difficult to figure out where you want to go when you first land is now going to be narrowed down into 5 easy landing spots, each with their own dedicated page: home, towers, news, events, and members. And of these, the about page, the towers page, and the members page are probably the 3 most important, based on what we identified as the 3 most common visitors to our site, what they're actually looking for. These are the common threads. So these 3, even though all 5 will be very easy to access, the site will try to drive people to these 3 areas. Learn more about change ringing, find your local tower, and if you're a ringer, get all the information you need as a ringer, because you probably already know what that kind of looks like without needing to be oriented. All right, we'll take another pause for questions.
Yeah, so we have a comment that the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers has lots of news posts.
Yes, they do. We will have a few new, you'll see in a minute, but we will have 5 or 6 most recent articles listed on the front page, so you can click on those. Those front page will not be cluttered with a mountain of large blocks of text with the text of news articles.
The next comment is from Alan Nunley that great job, Kemp, Quilla, Mary, Rick, and all. Okay.
Thank you, Alan. I think he may have had to split, but I appreciate it.
Oh, actually still here. Okay. Next thing is that John Mabe said maybe suggest naming the members to membership.
Good idea. We'll think about that. I know what we'll be talking about. We racked our brains and went through several iterations about exactly what to call it. Do we call it ringers? Do we call it members? You know, so that's still open for discussion. Appreciate the suggestion. Thank you.
And then we have Miriam, who has a question or comment.
Okay.
Hi, Miriam.
Good. Hello. This may have applied earlier in the design of the website, but I just happened to think about it. Is there consideration of making the site accessible, either in voiceover or talkback? And
Absolutely.
good for low vision?
Absolutely. And one of the advantages of going with a commercial web host that does billions of dollars worth of business a year is that making sure those systems work with their widgets and templates is their problem, not our problem. So after we kind of get the main design working, it is my intent to go back and absolutely make sure that everything we have on there is accessible. Links or tags on the photos so that screen readers can tell what they are, appropriate headings. That is high on the priority list.
I would like to help with that.
Wonderful, you're in.
Lovely. Right. And we have Matthew, just tell it. All right, Matthew Austin, it's your turn to speak.
I just wanted to say that I think it makes, I want to second that it makes so much sense, and I strongly support the notion that that landing page, the homepage that you come to, should make it very easy for someone who isn't an established ringer to get an idea of what's going on, that putting them forefront in the design thought, we established ringers, we can deal with one click to get to where we want to be if it makes it easier for new people to learn about it.
Yeah, the entire intent here is that if you're not an established ringer, you land on the front page, all you have to do is scroll down and keep reading and you'll learn more as you go.
I believe by this time we should just continue, and then
Okay.
the questions will keep building up.
All right, so the design. What is this thing actually going to look like? Quilla is scowling. She did say that. She did not say that about my design. She said that about one of the ones that we looked at, and I won't reveal which one it was. But
Well, don't make me unmute you.
Anyway, so one of the projects we engaged in was we went and looked at a bunch of other territorial association websites to see what we thought about those. I'm going to really quickly show you these. These are the three that we kind of like the best of the ones that existed, and just really quickly talk about what we liked and what we're going to steal from those. So first one is Norwich. This is Norwich's site. We like the overall organization of this. They have different branches, and they color-coded their branches, and they carried this color coding through all their sites. So on their towers directory, the Western branch is highlighted in the same color, and the news and events for each of these branches is all color-coded. We thought that was kind of neat. We like the use of a prominent banner photo. There were sort of mixed impressions of the actual photo chosen, but the overall concept here of having something eye-catching at the top was something we liked. We like the simplicity of the fonts. The menu is relatively straightforward, although there are a few more choices than we would like or that we necessarily wanted to have, but we kind of like this site. It's pretty good. Kent, we love the initial sex appeal of the front page of this site. The prominent photographs are great. They really grab your eye. The menu is relatively clear. We did not like, you saw it a second ago, how busy some of these submenus got. We don't want to do that. And we also don't like what happens when you scroll down on this site. It gets very busy. You get a lot of news articles that you can't really tell what's going on, and it doesn't really answer the question of what the heck this is in a way that's cogent. But the overall impact of this front page design we really liked. And then finally, St. Martin's Guild. This is the Birmingham Association. We really like the use of photos in the way that the overall navigational layout of the site, it's really clear that there are a limited number of choices, what those choices do, and the photos are relevant to some extent to those choices. We like the simplicity of the menu at the top. We don't love submenus, but the way they did it is not bad at all, and it's pretty easy to find things. So we really like the organization of this site. We looked at a bunch of territorial association sites. Each member of the committee went and found some other examples of sites that they thought were particularly well designed that were not necessarily bell ringing related. We talked through those and sort of came up with some priorities that we felt like were important to us. So these were the major takeaways. We wanted a large, eye-catching banner image, some nice photography that really sucks you in as soon as you land, fairly large. We don't necessarily want it to take up the entire page like it does at Kent, but we want it to be prominent and just really pop when you land. We wanted to make sure the design was responsive, as we talked about before, so it should look good on any width screen, on any width device, and smoothly transition between those various widths as you move your browser. We wanted a very clean and very simple, obvious menu structure, not some sort of complicated behemoth where it's hard to find what you're looking for. We wanted to make sure that when we incorporated photography, we did it more like St. Martin's did it, with the relevant images for what those stand for, and not rigidly enforce, well, it's an article, it has to have a photo, and that's going to be featured on the front page like Kent did. We want it to be, when we use photography, we want to do it with intention to really highlight something that we want to highlight with those photographs. And we wanted to kind of have a balance between, we talked a lot about, you know, whether we want dense information on the front page so members can find content easy, or do we want something with a lot of white space, a lot of big bold text that's a little more eye-catching to newcomers. And so we wanted to strike a balance, and that's really hard to do. To figure out how you want to do that. We had a lot of conversations that used the phrase above the fold, and how much information do we really want above the fold versus something eye-catching that pulls you to click a certain place or scroll a certain place to get what you need to do. So that's kind of the design philosophy. The next step is to take a look, and I think rather than take questions now, since just looking at time, I think we'll plow ahead, and I know you'll have some questions when you actually see it. So let's take a sneak peek. I want to revisit the theme of managing expectations. So back at the 2017 AGM, it was noted that there were some problems and maybe some redesign work needed to be done. So this has been a long time coming. So I hope you will all forgive me if it is not quite where you want it to be quite yet. There's a few caveats. One, the photography is not final. All of the images you see right now are placeholder images. I don't think Meredith Morris is here. I just want to apologize publicly to Meredith Morris. You will see why in a moment. It's not a bad picture by any means, but she did not ask to be featured. We did not ask for her permission to be featured. It just is. But that will change. We will have some different photographs replacing all the photographs that you see right now. The fonts and spacing are not final. So any tweaks or issues you see there, don't worry about it. We're going to mess with that. We're going to mess with placement and white space and that sort of thing. Actually, nothing's really final, really. This is still a work in progress. You all aren't going to love it, and I've already made peace with that. And it is slow. It is slow to load. That is a problem we need to address. It is a problem that if we can't fix may even cause us to go back to square one and look for a different platform than the Wix EditRX platform. But it is a problem inherent in the fact that we're using a web builder as opposed to building it from scratch. A website you built from scratch should do exactly what you need it to do, and nothing else will be very fast. If you're using drag and drop tools, it's going to have some sluggishness built into it. So we need to work through that. So with all those caveats, let's take a look. I'm going to go through it on the screen, so you don't have to do this, but if you'd like to browse it yourself, you can go to Alt-Tab out of this and go to nagcr.xyz, or stay with me for the guided presentation here.
I'm also going to post that link in the chat, okay. That's okay.
So here is the first pass at the new website. So, first of all, we incorporated the large banner image like we wanted to do. Say hi to Meredith. We have a simple menu structure that exactly mimics the 5 choices of the types of content that are most desirable to us. And because we've placed these blocks here on top of the main banner image, it draws your eye down and encourages you to select one of these 3 main choices, which, if you're in any of those 3 categories of visitors to our website, are probably exactly what you're looking for. You want to learn more about Change Ringing and the Guild. You want to find a tower and get the details of the contact information for that tower. Or if you're a member, you just want to go to the page that has all the things that you're looking for on it in one place. As close to above the fold as we could make it is a list of the latest news. You see only 3 highlighted here. But there will be up to 5 or 6. We can however many we want, as well as the next 4 or 5 upcoming events highlighted here. Clicking on any of these links will take you to those articles and information. The About section of the website, whether you click on the About link at the top or click on the About link here, doesn't take you to another page. It simply scrolls you down to a different section of the front page, which tells the story of what Change Ringing is and who we are. It will be divided into sections. These sections are not necessarily final, and I don't have any content yet. I sort of threw this in here as a placeholder just for now, so you can kind of see how it might look. But each of these links will take you to a different section of the site, and it's easy to get back and forth, or to just scroll down and take it all in a serial order. And the way I like to describe it, and this is real, touchy-feely, but I want the front page to tell the story of ringing and tell the story of the North American Guild in a succinct way. You'll see that I'm featuring video content. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. But I want to make sure there are several videos on the front page, because that is the direction that the world is moving in terms of design and presenting information to the hungry internet users. So why don't we take a moment here with the front page in view and answer any questions or chat about the overall design of the front page or anything else.
Our first comment is that it looks good.
All right. I'll take it.
Anyone else? John maybe asked, is there a search box?
Not yet. And that is not going to be necessarily easy to implement. So it's something we've talked about. If there's a way to do it, we will. But the problem is, because we're using a web host, a web building service, each of the different components of the site sort of lives in its own compartment. So I can easily add a search field for the news articles, or I can add a search field for a particular guild document, but I can't add a search field that searches the entire site, including news articles and static content and the guild documents all at once. So figuring out where to put that box and how to explain what it actually does is not easy to do. So it's something we're thinking about, but it doesn't exist yet.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions or even concerns? I'm giving it to you, Kemp.
All right.
All right, our next comment is John Bin said that he really likes the layout and that it goes naturally with the outline/categories Kemp stressed earlier.
Thank you. I want to reiterate that the process of getting to this point was more circuitous than I described, but I wanted it to have a cogent design philosophy, and we seem to have landed on one. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Allison said that I don't like Wix. I was trying to remember what my vaguely negative experiences with Wix were like, so I could comment, and the caveats about this preview reminded me it's so slow to load and clunky.
Yep, it is. And there might be ways, and the Editor X component of Wix, which is kind of their new tool. They have an old tool, and a new tool. Editor X is relatively new, is even slower. And there may be a way to make it work and get it fast enough that it's usable. At this point in time, I do not consider it to be fast enough or usable. But we have a lot of custom little toys on this. I might can optimize some images and, optimize the data a little better that makes it quicker. So it's definitely a problem that is not resolved yet. And I'm not going to turn it loose to the wild until that issue is resolved. The main reason we went with Wix, it's like $27 a month, and it includes the ability to have user logins. But for the user logins, so we can have that members only wall, we could use any of the other services, Webflow or Squarespace or any of the others. And if we, to have that member login component on any of those, we'd have to add another service that sits on top of it to manage that particular thing, which would cost us another $20 a month or so. So you nearly double the cost of the thing over time by adding that component. But Wix offers all of it in one place. So that's the primary reason, but we'll see. I'm still sorting through how I feel about that and whether I can make this work well enough or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a comment and question, and as I went to the Towers page, and I love how it's
yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Oh, sorry. I'm spoiling it.
Yeah, you're ruining it.
Oh, no.
Don't get ahead of me.
What was my question was that, how long did it, you may have answered this already, but how long did it take for you to build this website?
A long time, but the actual nuts and bolts of building it is only a tiny piece of it. I could probably recreate this site on another platform in 12 or 13 hours, start to finish. But figuring out, what categories to put things in, what text to include, how to program the map, I don't even want to tabulate how many hours this took.
So my follow-up question is, how long do you think, or what obstacles are there to making this the NAGCR website?
So there's a couple of, I got to get the speed working. If we can't make it fast enough to load, then we're going to have to think about another platform. So if that's where we go, I can't tell you. So I have to solve that problem. There's a couple of technical things we have to solve on the members side of it, like getting the transactions to work, getting the member directory to work so that it's searchable, and that kind of thing. And that's a programming challenge. David Wilson, I think he's here, volunteered to help me with some JavaScript programming. I am not a JavaScript programmer. I know enough about programming to be dangerous. And I'm not a JavaScript developer, but David has graciously volunteered to help with that. So I'm about to set him loose on a couple of those projects. I would love to have it done by the end of the year. I would definitely drop dead, hell or high water, have it done by the time we are back to ringing, whenever that happens to be. But I because I'm a volunteer and because, we'll hit, I didn't know we were going to hit this speed issue. I knew Wix wasn't the speediest, but I didn't know it was going to be painfully slow as it is in a couple of spots. And I don't know if that's going to be a surmountable problem or not. So I don't know if we'll hit any more roadblocks like that. And since I don't do this professionally, I'm not going to try to predict it. But I wanted to have it ready for basically a beta launch today. And it's not, obviously. But so the short answer to the question is I'd love to have it done by the end of the year, but don't twist my arm and hold me to that, please.
Yeah. One last question, so you may continue, is that Michael asked, would it be helpful if the About section linked to a different page? That way there would be fewer things to load on the home page.
It probably would, but the home page is not really the problem. The Towers page is very slow to load. That's a big issue. Once the home page, and people will go to the home page and it's not that, they'll wait a little longer, but then if they click on a link on the site and nothing happens for a while, that frustrates people. So yes, we could do that. The home page is not pulling a lot of data from other places. It's just grabbing a little bit of text. So that's not the big offender. It's the Towers page is the big offender at the moment. Lovely. So I'm going to mess with that. I'm going to see. I'd really love to have the front page be the About page, if we can. So we'll see.
Cool. So while Kemp continues his presentation, if you have at all any questions, just let me know and I'll make it go live.
Okay.
On to you, Kemp.
All right. So the other thing we wanted was to make sure it's responsive. So this site expands to fit the full width of the browser cleanly and clearly. And at every step along the way, it will rearrange itself to look good no matter what size your device is, from massive, 2000 pixel wide screen all the way down to 300 pixel phone. And as things that need to, like these videos here, they will get smaller and smaller, until they really can't fit anymore at all. And then they get bigger again and stack on top of each other. I will tell you, having never done responsive design before, getting all that to work is very, very tedious. But once you do, it's very satisfying. And I love that we can kind of deliver that. So that's a big win that I'm very excited about. All right. So let us talk about, oh, I didn't get to the other pages. So the Tower page. This is the Tower page. The map uses Google's new API and uses a feature called clusters that group towers that are really close together into little circles. And clicking on one of those zooms you into the towers included with that circle. Clicking on further takes you down to actually show the towers. So just a really clean and fun and nice way to navigate the towers without it being cluttered and confusing. Clicking on one of these will pull up information about that particular tower or band. I don't have this programmed yet. This is something that David's going to work on for me. Here are the towers themselves. Each tower is featured with a prominent photo. Most of these photos I found using Creative Commons licensing searches on Flickr. My eventual goal is to make sure that whatever photos we pick, sort of like the Dallas, Texas photo, is optimized for this aspect ratio so that things don't get cut off like you see here for Charleston. And clicking on a tower will take you to that tower's page, which includes the usual information that we already have, as well as a prominent portrait photo of that particular tower. If you have some nice photography of your tower, please send it to me. I would love to have it. I would also eventually love to feature some other images, perhaps of the interior of your tower and maybe even your band. And the more of those photos I have to choose from, both for the overall site itself, as well as the individual tower page, is great. Eventually we could add more information to these pages fairly easily, such as histories of the towers or more details about the bells and whatnot. There won't be a difficult design addition at all, even for a layperson to make after we're done. The news pages.
Sorry to interrupt, Kemp. It's currently 2 p.m. I'm not ending the presentation.
Yep.
But folks want to head over to whatever sessions they want to do. They can do so now. But Kemp, do you have any last things to tell them if they do need to leave?
Yes. If you are leaving now, my email address is, you can throw it in the chat if you don't mind doing it for me, is kbrinson, KBRINSON @gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, comments, thoughts, photographs, want to volunteer to help in some way, if you've got some web chops or design chops, particularly if they're greater than mine, I would love to hear from you. So please reach out.
Can you spell it again?
Sure. KBrinson, KBRINSON @gmail.com.
I forgot the end. All right, continue, please.
Okay. The news page isn't really built yet, but it will list articles and will likely have some teaser text for each of the articles listed in order. There'll be a next page sort of analysis and likely a search just of the news as well. The events ability I'm particularly excited about because it will list upcoming events and including in a calendar format, which changes to a serial format if your browser gets too small, which is easier to see. And you'll be able to register. This shouldn't take 5 tickets. It should say register. But going to an event page will enable you to register for the event there and directly sign up without having to send an email to some email address that you mistyped or something like that. If there's a fee for registration, like for example, the Philadelphia Quarter Peel Weekend, when Bruce and Eileen organized that, they could set it up and just use our credit card interface and take payments that way for the $20 food charges and whatnot that everybody does. That's always a pain to go around and collect from everyone. So there's some new toys that we can use to make hosting events easier for our towers. And then finally, the members landing page is really not built yet. This is just an outline of what's going to be here, not necessarily how it's going to look. This is the next phase of my effort after we get the speed issue figured out, assuming we do. Okay, so let us talk about how you can help. First thing I need is photos. And hello, membership of the North American Guild of Changeringers. We need to have a come to Jesus meeting about photography. There are a lot of photos we have all taken through the years. Many, many, many of them are of two things. Thing number one is a group of very tired people posing in front of a tower that they just rang at. Most of them are old and most all of them are white. And the second thing is a photo in a very dark pub of people eating and drinking. We do not need more of those photos. What I need are photos that are good, candid, action photos showing people doing fun things. We primarily, there will be pictures of towers, there will be pictures of bells, and I'd love to have some of those. particularly good ones, but I really, really need good photos of ringers. And I assembled some examples. Some of you will recognize yourselves. And here they are. We'll start here. I think John is here. This is one of my favorite photographs of all the photographs I've seen of anything everyone has submitted. It's not at a tower. It's not in a church. It's handbells. And we are, as a guild, more focused on handbells perhaps as a prominent activity that we do than other territorial associations. So I love to feature handbells. I am also a handbell ringer myself, so it's fun for me. I like that there's erased math on the chalkboard, which kind of suggests whether that math has anything to do with us or not. It doesn't, but you know, whether it does or not, it suggests this is kind of a nerdy, brainy thing. And I love the smiles. I love the laughter. I love the sense that this is a really, really cool and fun thing to do. This is a great photo. It's quirky, it's exciting, something, you know, a bride rang at her own wedding. What, you know, this is great. Love it. It's people in the act of ringing. They're doing it in outfits that you don't normally see people ring in. It suggests a really good time is being had by all, and that is great. I love this photo because it's not just a posed photo of ringers. I think Matt is here. But it tells a little story. Something's happening here. I don't know what it is. Someone's being pointed at or touched. I don't know, but it's funny. Something is happening here. These people are clearly having a good time. I enjoy the fact that this photo features different age ranges, which is really, really nice. We need to make sure that we do that. And I love the setting. I love the bricks is very nice. This is a great, if you're going to have a post photo, this sort of candid photo that caught some moment is better than just a everybody smile and say cheese sort of thing. If you're going to have a post photo, something like this is great. The lighting is good. A lot of our photos have really bad lighting because they're inside dark towers and dark pubs. So having it outdoors is great. It is not immediately obvious that this photograph was taken at a religious institution, even though it was. It doesn't look like a church. Not that we're trying to avoid the implication that we're in churches, but rather most of our photos feature churches, so it's nice to have some that don't. There are a lot of people in this photo. It includes all genders, all ages, different races, and it's clearly taken in a moment where all these people are having a good time. So large groups of people like this is probably better than 6 tired people in front of a tower. I love this picture. It captures a moment. They didn't even know they were being photographed. It's, you know, the perfect summary of our age ranges. And obviously there's some teaching going on here, and it just really nicely captures a moment. And if we're going to have photos of pictures eating, this is your gold standard. It's got some nice depth of field, so it's a good picture. The lighting is good. People are smiling. People are laughing. Stories are being told, and fellowship is being had. And those are the type of moments that we need to capture. So what I would love for you to do is to comb through and look at your photos of events that you took, you know, in the past 5 or 10 years. Find those diamonds in the rough that really capture a moment in a way that those photos do. And please consider submitting them to me. I would really love to have, you know, there's not going to be a lot of photography on the site. It's not going to be like galleries and galleries, but mixed in telling the story of bell ringing, I want to mix in, you know, 5 to 10 just really nice photographs that help tell that story. And things of the ilk of what I've shown you really do that. So see what you can find. Please send it, you know, err on the side of sending it. You're not sure it's good enough. You know, all the bad things I just said about bad photography, ignore all that. There's no judgment. Send me what you got. I would love to see it and love to see if I can use it. The second thing you can do is agree to be videoed. I'm looking to create probably 4 or 5 videos from scratch to feature on the site. 2 or 3 of them I want to be sort of little 3-minute biographies of ringers, and I want to feature different ages. So a young ringer, an older ringer. I want to feature ringers who are of different stages, somebody who just started, somebody who's been ringing their whole life. I want to feature men and women. I'd love to feature some diversity in terms of race if we can, and tell the story of what we do and why we do it through the stories of 2 or 3 ringers. And so we'll have to figure out the logistics of that. But if you would be interested, or if someone in your tower is particularly good on camera and speaking and outgoing and has that, you know, that look and that charm, I would love to meet them and learn more and see if we can use them. The other thing I want to do is have just sort of little 2 or 3 minute discussions about what change ringing is and why we do it. And I'll use multiple people for that. So some person may say, you know, why they do it. Another person may say they do it. Another person will deliver the first bit of the explanation for what it is. And these will be somewhat loosely scripted, but it would be cut together from footage that I get from multiple people. So if you would be interested and willing in being a subject either of those little sort of mini documentaries or features of you, none of them are going to be more than 2 or 3 minutes long. Please get in touch with me. I'd love to hear more from you about that. I do have one volunteer that's looking promising for one of the features, a younger ringer, but I'd love to hear from more and see what we can do with that. Finally, a piece of this that I really need help with, things about picking fonts and spacing. And I am just very worked up about my own inability to make decisions about that sort of thing. So if anybody is a graphic designer or has a really good eye for that, has done that sort of work before, that can help me. I don't need you to do the work. I just need you to tell me this looks bad because, and then what needs to be done to kind of fix it and tighten it up. And that sort of input as a proofer would be really, really helpful. So I'd appreciate that. If that is you, please email me. So I'll take some more questions. Don't worry. To wrap it up, I want to say a huge thank you again to Quilla, Rick, and Mary, who have been invaluable in helping provide input. A lot of what you see, if you like it, was probably because they steered me away from what I was trying to do. And they've done a great job at that. David, Don, Ed, Diane, Bruce, Tom, Josh, Rosalie, Laura, Alan, Tori, and there's others I've probably forgotten have, you know, sent me suggestions, sent me pictures, provided some early input or some write-ups about the existing site, provided access to old data. You know, all that is very much appreciated. And, you know, any additional photo content or other information you'd like to share to help contribute to this project, I would love to have it. So I'm going to leave, at least for the next couple of weeks, NAGCR.xyz up as the prototype if you want to spend some more time with it and come up with some other suggestions. Nitpicky little things you can send me. You know, we're at a point where things could change so much that I'm not sure that, you know, I'll even get around to addressing those because something else fundamental may happen. But if you got some comments, don't feel bad about hurting my feelings. Please send them along. My email address is there. And I will take any additional questions, comments, thoughts, criticism, or praise and adoration you would like to give to me now.
Lovely. So be aware, everyone, that in this portion, we will be taking questions that you think is relevant for everyone to hear. But then afterwards, when I conclude the event, there is more time to ask a more detailed, in-depth conversation with Kemp. So right now, we have a question from Michael.
Great job. I just had one short question.
Sure.
If you take money online, is there a service fee for that, or is that included in the monthly cost of just maintaining the website?
There is a small percentage comparable to what PayPal is charging us, and we'll build those into the prices that you see so that the guild doesn't have to eat that. But the monthly fee that you pay, you know, if you sign up with a credit card processor, they're going to charge you some kind of monthly or periodic fee and a service fee on top of that. Mm-hmm. And so the monthly fee piece of that is built into the hosting package. So the only thing we pay is the small percentage on each actual charge.
All right, cool. Thanks. Sorry, I got to run.
Yep. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. All right, next question will be coming from Christian. Hi, Christian.
From Helen.
I'm wondering, Kemp, if we send you a picture, do you need the names of the people and do you need permission or release or something like that?
That's an interesting question. So one thing I do want to make sure that we do is credit all of our photographers. So I would love to know who took the picture and make sure I have the permission of that person to post the picture. If there are any children in the picture, I would like to know that we explicitly have the permission of that children's parents to feature them. And if the image features adults, unless it features them in some negative way, which we wouldn't do anyway, I don't know that we technically need permission of that adult to feature them, but I would love to know that you at least tried and have that person's permission if you were able to reach them to post that image.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions that would help others by listening to the answer? All right. So thank you all or rather, thank you, Kemp, for this amazing presentation of what you've done and how you will change and improve the website that is to come. At this time, if I can't do anything, at this time, I will unmute everyone so we may applaud you auditorily. Yay!
Hey! Hey, nice, very good.
Lovely, lovely.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
So, Kemp, I'm wondering, the presentation that you made using that software, the Venn diagram thing,
Yeah.
are you able to share that as a view only?
I'm pretty sure I can. And if anybody is interested in that software, it's a service called Prezi, Prezi. And it is better than PowerPoint in every way for putting together stuff like this. So go check it out. But I'm happy to share that. Let me see if I can, while we're talking, see if I can get a link to it and put it in the chat.
Definitely, you can put that in the chat as well as putting it in I can put it in Discord. So this event has concluded. Kemp is happy to stay longer to speak with any individuals who wish to be more in discussion about stuff. The next event will be the annual general meeting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and this will be